Statistically, odds are you're probably watching this on your phone. Technology's advanced to a point where the internet's literally in the palm of your hands. Quite literally anything is in the palm of your hand, from looking up help for your homework to stuff that would get us struck down on YouTube if we even allude to it. Video games on your phone are no exception, exploding into popularity with some games making over $100 million a month. It's no secret that they got a bit of reputation for shoving ads all over the place to force you to watch them, and filled their game stores with overpriced currencies to squeeze out as much money as they can. However, it wasn't always like this, and some games today are just as good, with services like the Apple Arcade Store pretty much serving as a haven from these greedy practices. Despite all the negative news coverage these mobile app games can get, there are still plenty of games that are genuinely fun experiences, even if you don't fork over a single cent, with some even telling great stories. Of course, with a wide pool of mobile games to choose from, we have to ask, which of the protagonists of these phone play sessions are the most outstanding with their moral integrity? I'm Keith Finosi, and today we're going to be looking over the heroes of the mobile game market and seeing who's the most righteous out of all of them. Of course, some ground guidelines have to be in place. Given how a store like the iPhone App Store has almost, 2 million apps, no way are we going to be looking over every single game. Therefore, a couple of rules have to be followed. Firstly, the series must have gotten its start in the phone's app. Even if the game was ported to a game console or Steam later, it will count. Dual releases of a game on the phone and game console are allowed as long as the game itself feels like it was made for a mobile experience. Basically, if you can ask your parents about a character here, and they say it's from a phone game, they count. Secondly, given how some games don't have much of a story, outside sources like web animations are allowed. Thirdly, characters from other companies that just so happen to have phone-exclusive games, like Mario and Super Mario Run, won't be counted. Finally, sorry to say, but we're probably going to miss a character or two, to say the least. If there is someone you think fits the bill and deserves to be here, be sure to leave a comment about them. Of course, as always, spoilers aren't bound for these games. First up, we have the self-serving heroes. These are the heroes of the games that are either just looking after themselves or are just friendly people, even if they don't do that much in terms of heroics. First up is the textbook example of greed. Fitting, stealing the gold trophy of least heroic person here is the thief from King of Thieves. After being jailed for this game is called King of Thieves, and take a wild guess. He ends up being helped out by a ghost, escaping the prison cell and finding out his spot as the King of Thieves is taken by Lord Rastin and has to get his spot back. He must go around stealing gems from other thieves. Now, with how this game is basically trying to encourage you to be the best thief of them all, it's pretty easy to say that the thief may not be the most virtuous out of the lot of characters here. However, there's one reason we really can't call him a bad guy, namely that he's stealing from other thieves. The leagues he has to go through are all leagues filled with other thieves, be it just other thieves trying to get the throne, or Lord Rastin's helpers keeping him on top. As selfish as it all is, it's not like he's doing this to innocent bystanders, and as such, can only just barely legally call himself a hero, kinda. Runner-up for the worst hero in mobile gaming is BK from Donut County. This raccoon only has one job and one goal: to get himself a new quadcopter and deliver donuts around the county. There is only one big problem. These donuts are actually holes that have people falling into the earth itself. Needless to say, this quickly becomes a problem and gets out of hand, as the entire city gets more or less swallowed up by a hole. Even worse for BK, he not only refuses to take responsibility for being the reason this is happening in the first place, but he also decides to double down, saying how this is actually a positive thing. However, he does eventually see the error of his ways, no small part thanks to Mira constantly pushing him to do the right thing. He's even able to turn down the Trash King's offer of teaming up with him and stay loyal to his friends in the end to fix his mistake. Given how he's willing to clean up his past mistakes, that just pushes him past the thief. But since it's his mess that he's cleaning up, it's also not putting him that far past the thief. On the topic of fixing past mistakes, up next is Ida of the Monument Valley game. Ida is a princess from a kingdom that has been cursed, and to undo this curse, she must bring back to the civilization that was stolen from monuments that were stolen. This quest sounds pretty heroic on paper, if it weren't for one major flaw: Ida herself is the thief. Years ago, she managed to snag these monuments for herself. However, this not only brought the curse to her people, but it also ensured the destruction of the civilization she stole from. Right off the bat, this is leagues above the damages that BK or the thief did, so why is she not at the very bottom? Two things. One is that she was willing to repent and fix the mistakes that she caused without any prompting. Two, and this is the big thing, it's been revealed that the civilization civilization was dead by the time Ida returned. However, she still took the time to pay respect to their tomb, giving a flower and placing it on the coffin of one of the fallen members of the civilization. A nice gesture and sign of character, however, causing two civilizations to be cursed isn't something one can just simply overlook. She may have learned her lesson and is apologetic for her actions, but what's done is done, no matter how many flowers have been planted. Unless they're the flowers of the Super Mario Bros. 3 slot machine that can give you 3 extra lives, that is. That would be nice. From a game with a story to a game storyless, we have Temple Run's Guy Dangerous. This game stars the daring Guy Dangerous getting an idol from a temple. However, this upsets the animals of the temple, prompting an endless runner. And that's your lot with the story. Yeah, sorry, this is the standard person when you think of a brave explorer trying to get an idol. Sure, it shows that he has courage and can think quickly, but that's it. Think Indiana Jones, but only his concept art was used. No personality, nothing. Honestly, if it weren't for the fact that Temple Run was one of the most defining games of the phone game scene, we would have probably just excluded this guy. Yeah. Thankfully, for a game that has more meat on its bones, we have Subway Surfer with Jake skating on through. Just like with Temple Run, this is an endless runner, although featuring a graffiti artist using his spray cans on train carts and getting chased by police and his dog. While this would normally be it for the story, game-wise, we have the animated web show coming to the rescue. Here, the web series is a short slice-of-life style adventure showing Jake and his friends, Fresh, Tricky, and Yutani, generally just messing around. And no, this Tricky isn't the same as the Madness Combat Tricky, thankfully. Now, while Jake is the leader of the group, he's also pretty friendly and genuinely cares about his friends. Sure, he does get in trouble with the law a couple of times thanks to him hanging around the train tracks, but on a social scale, he's quite kind. He cares about his friends and enjoys their company, letting a king have the rest of his fries that he barely touched because he was able to clean Fresh's shoes. He's also supportive of his friends, showing up to Tricky's performance to help her out once the ballet part of it was failing, and turning it into street dancing and letting her know that he and the crowd loved her dancing, even stealing the judge's 0 to turn it into a 10. While he is another rebel and fugitive of the law, making this, the 4th or 5th one so far, he's without a doubt the nicest of the bunch, letting him get higher up than them. Cutting in line is cut the rope with Omnom. This small green alien is more of a pet, being able to live off of candy. It's your job as a player to deliver this candy to him. Really, he's just a curious being, excited and happy by the world around him. This is best shown in the web animations of him. He's really happy with his owner, Evan, and is more than curious and willing to go along with whatever his owner's doing. He even has not only his own girlfriend by the name of Omnell, but he even adopted a son by the name of Nibblenom. He may be interested in candy, but he's also able to have a healthy relationship with his family. Definitely one of the more well-trained members of this list. Up next, we have someone who really isn't that complex of a character, but we just couldn't leave out Brawl Stars. And as such, we landed on the main star in the web animations, and part of the original trio for Brawl Stars, Colt. The smug shooter showed up in Brawl Stars one day, and he was quickly recruited into the Brawl Star games, being more than happy to prove himself. This definitely does end up biting him in the back a fair couple of times, with him getting too cocky for his own good. Like when he was trying to get too many gems, but he's definitely able to put up a good fight. He's willing to fight whomever challenges him and the peace of his town, even if they keep trying to knock him down. When not fighting the other brawlers, Colt is more than willing to be friends with them, even letting Snowman Tick join in on the winter festivities after he was kicked out for being a snowman. Overall, he's just like the other brawlers, trying to survive and have fun while keeping the peace. For a much more normal type of hero for this list, up next we have Florence from the game, Florence. This game gives us a small slice of life of the main character, Florence. It goes over her daily life of going to work and coming back. One day she ended up meeting a cello player by the name of Krish, gradually becoming lovers with him and eventually moving in with him. She even manages to push him into getting a career in music, her being rewarded by him by her being given her own paint set. Yeah, this story more or less focuses on the reality of human relationships, namely how they form, how they can drift apart, and how they can recover from such a breakup. Florence and Krish go through the motions of every relationship, loving each other and enjoying each other's company, getting into fights, and slowly realizing that maybe they aren't that well suited for each other and breaking up, with Florence using this as a chance to pursue her career in art. Granted, it's nowhere near as heroic as the other characters, yet what she lacks in grand adventures, she makes up for in realistic kindness. Sure, she may have broken up with her boyfriend, but with how kind and patient she was with him, even aiding him in getting his start as a musician by helping him with his academic career for his music career, and not holding any real negative feelings for him after the breakup, she more than earns a spot this high up. Finally, at the end of this tier of the list, it's time to learn with Fruit Ninja's Sensei. His role is to teach upcoming ninja all about the art of cutting fruit. Why is he doing this? Because, apparently, according to the game, ninja hate fruit. He's here to help teach the player how to be a proper fruit ninja, being a fruit ninja master himself. While he may be out of the action now thanks to his old age, he's still more than willing to give you encouragement and advice on your journey. Or tell you interesting facts about fruit, I guess. Either one of the two, really. Honestly, he's just a nice elderly man helping the youth of today to grow up into fruit ninja masters themselves. With no crimes under his belt and him helping out his community, this lets him get to the top spot of this tier. Next tier up on our list consists of the community heroes. These are the people that aim to keep the peace in their local areas. Even if their exploits aren't that big nor grand, they're still very trustworthy, and thankfully these guys have more story attached to them that gives them more story to work with. Starting off, we have essentially the poster child of mobile games, the troops from Clash of Clans. This game might as well be the founder of the base building and troops attacking other clans genre for mobile games. The base game is simple. You're a ruler of a clan, and these troops are at your command to help you beat your enemies. From barbarian warriors, necromancers and their skeleton armies, to, of course, the hog riders, they're here to fight your enemies. Game-wise, they really didn't do that much in terms of personality. However, in the Clashorama web animation, they're more fleshed out. They're shown to be looking out for each other and, well, they're more or less just normal, regular people wanting to live nice lives. From helping Hog Rider find the goblin who stole his hog, to a giant trying to talk with some archer he's romantically interested in, and even celebrating the holidays together. These warriors are here to protect and take care of not only their own village, but also each other. This is one clan that, despite how dysfunctional they look, you can always rely and depend on. From one clan to another, we have the #1 enemy of balloons, the monkeys from Bloons Tower Defense. The simians have signed up to fight against the Balloon Menace, or as they call them, the Bloons. This group of primates is strapped to the brim with weaponry, from simple darts to ninja dedicated to using shuriken on balloons, and even calling in superheroes to pop balloons with their laser eyes, or plasma eyes, depending on what you upgrade. Nothing is too much when it comes to them and their hatred for balloons. Now, you may be asking yourself, just why are these monkeys so dedicated to popping every single last balloon in existence? That's a good question. We'll let you know as soon as the game tells us. I'm serious, we really don't have much of a clue as to why they must pop every single balloon, but they try to. The most we get is that the balloons are invading the monkeys' home village, and in Bloons Adventure Time Tower Defense game, the only thing we get there is that after they invaded the land of Ooh, the characters from Adventure Time treat them as a real threat. How they are a real threat is anyone's guess. Even Jake doesn't seem to think that the balloons are all that bad, but still, it's obvious that they are some kind of threat, and these monkeys are still rather heroic for risking their lives to pop the balloons, so their good deeds still can't be ignored. There are no imposters here, just crewmates. These fellows have been the scourge of the internet with Among Us's memetic status, but in-game, they're just regular friendly crewmates, being stuck in an airship, building spaceship, or on another planet. Their job is to perfect various tasks all around the zone, all while an imposter or 3 hunt them down one by one. Of course, when a dead body is found, they have a meeting to discuss who may have killed them. This is basically just the 1982 film The Thing repurposed into a social deduction game. They're just roaming around trying to do their best to either complete their tasks or find out who may have been the killer, be it by being engineers and accessing vents, or being a scientist and checking vitals of all the crewmates. There are even guardian angels in the group willing to help save the crewmates from an attack from the imposters after death. In short, there are no bad crewmates here. Now, when they are controlled by others and won't believe you when you say that you saw someone vent after a kill, good luck. Okay, we're technically cheating on this one since technically this guy was a web series first, but we couldn't forget Dan the Man. The star of the web series of the same name, Dan is a karate fighter with just one goal: winning. However, this goal is lined up with generally heroic goals like saving a princess or defending a town, so it's not really a problem. Sure, Dan may end up accidentally being a pervert by listening to some frat boys or get into bar fights, but that's the thing. Dan is controlled by someone else, a player character. Everything that Dan does is just the same as the player character trying to find out just what to do. He's able to learn and become a better person this way, managing to become a better partner, make peace during the bar fight, and even realizing that the resistance may not actually be all that that good and side with the peasants for a peaceful solution. Sure, his first reaction is to just punch to see if it works, but considering how Dan is just a character controlled by a player, it fits. The player themselves even seems to like a nice person, be respectful when chatting with another person also playing the game. Truthfully, his biggest flaw is that he doesn't realize that the game is alive in some way, but that's a pretty natural response. I mean, it's not like the game is actually a slice of another universe told through the perspective of a main character, right? From one ninja to another, we have Clumsy the Ninja from, well, Clumsy Ninja. In comparison to Dan, Clumsy is true to his name, Clumsy. He's just starting out his path to greatness, training with his friend Kira. However, one day a ninja called Horrible came to try and force her into helping him get a powerful artifact, the Dragon Medallion. While Kira managed to find it first, Horrible soon found out and decided to kidnap Kira and steal the medallion for himself, forcing her to help him unlock the temple so he can gain the medallion's powers for himself. Despite not even getting his first belt yet by the time the game starts, Clumsy does not waste any time, kicking his training into high gear with your help. From practicing jumping on trampolines, letting himself get thrown into a basketball net over and over, being attacked by balls that he has to deflect, he starts to get more and more serious and powerful, becoming less clumsy as time goes on. He'll do whatever it takes to get better, and it seems that the results of his training do in fact pay off, finally reaching the temple, and after Kira and Horrible get freed from being stuck in stone, he was able to not only stand up to Horrible, but also get the Dragon Medallion and become a Master Ninja. From stumbling over the starting line to being one of the best, Clumsy Ninja is a hero no matter how you look at it. Rounding out the tier of community heroes, we have the poster child for how to be a good sibling, Demo. At first, he appears to be some dark, shadowy figure content to just play his piano in the middle of nowhere. However, after seeing a mysterious girl falling through a hole in the sky, Demo not only rescues her from falling to her demise, but also takes her in, helping to make sure she's safe, alongside helping her with trying to go back. Pretty nice and heroic, sure, but this far up? Well, yes, there's more to the story than one may suspect at first glance. It's revealed that this girl is Alice, and that Demo is actually her older brother, or rather, her dead older brother, Hans. After losing his parents, he decided to take it upon himself to continue raising Alice. While walking home from the store after buying her a doll of a cat, a bus almost ran them over. Hans was able to push Alice out of the way, letting himself die in the process. The world that Alice fell into was actually her own mental world, where Demo served to act like her big brother. Even when the masked girl wanted Alice to stay with them and to not wake up so they could be together, Demo convinced the both of them that Alice had to go back and wake up from her coma, even if it meant leaving him behind. With how selfless he was by first sacrificing his life for Alice, but then also helping her wake up from her coma, Hans/Demo has more than earned his spot at the top of the community heroes tier. Finally reaching the peak of mobile game heroes, we have the true heroes. This group of heroes is filled with the ones willing to go the extra mile for their loved ones and the world, either by seeking out trouble or responding to any trouble of any size. They will fight through the thick and thin to save the day. To start up this tier, we have someone who we're willing to bet is the most obscure character here, Cosmo from Love You to Bits. Now, Love You to Bits is probably the most underrated game on this list, which is a shame because on top of avoiding all the standard mobile phone game traps, it's a charming point-and-click game tasking you to solve puzzles on each new and unique planet. And the shoes we walk in to do this task belong to Cosmo. Originally just a clumsy explorer, his life ended up taking a turn upon being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Standing behind the fugitive robot Nova after she escaped from Dr. Eros' lab, not wanting to be subjected to his evil army, Nova uses Cosmo as a human shield and forces him to drive her out of there. Unlike how most people would feel, Cosmo becomes immediately smitten with her, deciding to stick around and help her. Despite Nova originally using Cosmo to help her evade capture, the two do end up forming a genuine romantic relationship with one another. However, after getting tracked down by Dr. Eros in his ship, the ship blasted into their ship, resulting in Nova literally getting blown to pieces and scattered across the galaxy. Cosmo's main goal now being to go around and collect all those pieces, rebuilding her in the process. Upon each planet that does have a piece of her, Cosmo ends up making his presence known, to put it nicely. Truthfully, he does end up causing some trouble, be it having to steal an umbrella to give to another alien to help him with the rain, or scaring kids to leave an arcade machine alone to get Nova's gun back. His biggest crime in this department would have to be letting a group of aliens out of a government science center. However, seeing just how the game doesn't provide much in terms of context for this, as the entire game is told 99% of the time with just the visuals, it could also be just another evil scientist lab, a la Resident Evil's Umbrella Corp. That said, he's always at least trying to help others out. This could be him helping an elderly man get over the loss of his wife, rounding up lost sheep for a shepherd, or even braving a dangerous temple to get an idol for an explorer. His greatest achievement would have to be at the end, after chasing Dr. Eros into a corner after he stole Nova's heart. Cosmo's acts of bravery just to fix Nova ended up inspiring Eros' other robots to rebel against their master, with him literally hanging on by the skin of his lab coat, pretty much stopping his plans. In the end, despite how clumsy he can be at times, Cosmo really is a hero at heart, well deserving of his place here. From a very obscure character to a group of characters that Grandma's pet cat would know, enter the flock of Angry Birds. You all know what their deal is. Pigs try to steal their eggs to make meals for themselves, and the birds don't want them to eat the eggs that will grow up into other birds otherwise. They are incredibly loyal to the job, willingly launching themselves out of a slingshot just to knock the pigs down. No matter the game nor medium, be it film or online web shorts, these birds are ready to fly to protect their eggs, as well as others. After being trapped in Angry Birds Rio, these ill-tempered birds are not only able to escape their cages, but also go on a rampage, freeing the other birds trapped in their cages, alongside helping Blue and Jewel beat Nigel. They were willing to go into deep space in the appropriately named Angry Birds Space just to save the egg steroids from being taken by King Pig. There's also the time that they pretty much went through the first 3 Star Wars movies in Angry Birds Star Wars, meaning they technically did the same heroic deeds that Luke and his squad did. Of course, there's also the movie, where Red rallies a team of birds together to stop the pigs from eating their eggs, which pretty much equates to the pigs eating their babies. With an incredibly long list of deeds revolving around saving their offspring over and over again, it's safe to say that despite any anger issues they may have, the flock is more than worthy of being seen as a group of true heroes. Dashing into third place and snagging the bronze on a jetpack is Barry Steakfries. Now, Barry is more or less the mascot of Half Brick Studios, starring in a line of his own games, with them being Jetpack Joyride, Monster Dash, and Age of Zombies. The enemy of Professor Brains, Barry Steakfries, is always there to stop whatever dastardly plot or scheme he has in the works. From going through time to lay siege with his zombie army or even bursting into his lab to steal the latest jetpack, Barry is always there. He's always craving a fight, and is more than willing to throw down. That said, with his online Jetpack Joyride shorts, it's seen that Barry definitely has an ego complex, especially with how he keeps dismissing Craig. He can also be quite childish at times, like with him trying to get a pair of shoes from a claw game instead of fighting Professor Brains, or trying to get fuel for a rainbow jetpack, which just results in him destroying said jetpack. There's also the matter that Barry decided to just stay home and play Monster Dash instead of helping the world. If the trailer for Monster Dash is any indication, knocking some points there as well. That said, he certainly also gets the job done when he does get to work. And he's a thorn in Professor Brains' plans, which is what keeps him up here. In his own way, he does care for Craig, even if he does see himself as superior to him. He's also fond of his robotic dog, Flash, getting angry with Professor Brains after he knocked him away. He also managed to befriend his robotic counterpart, showing him a fun time in his life, and even getting saddened by his sacrifice. For as much of an egocentric man as Barry is, he can certainly back that up, so we have to give him points for that. For the sweet silver trophy, we have the star of the Cookie Run games, Ginger Brave. In a distant land, a witch was baking gingerbread men to eat. However, due to an accident, one of these cookies came to life, with that one being Ginger Brave. After breaking free from the oven, he made it his mission to break out his fellow cookies and lead them to safety. While the story isn't that prevalent in the game due to the auto-runner nature, the entire game is kicked off by his quest to be free of the witch and keep his fellow cookies safe. Seeing just how they were all inspired by him and wanted to follow in his footsteps, it's safe to say that without him, no other gingerbread cookie would have been safe. In Cookie Run Kingdom, he only becomes a more prominent hero. After encountering some sugar gnomes, he becomes the ruler of the kingdom. He steps up to protect his new kingdom from any and all threats, be it from defending their home against cake monsters to finding out what happened to the previous heroes of the land. This cookie is always willing to raise his candy cane to the occasion. Gingerbread cookies were known for being nice and sweet before, but Ginger Brave takes it to a whole new level. Finally, at the very top of the list, winning the gold medal of heroics, we have one of the more recent heroes, the main character of World's End Club and leader of the Go-Getters Club. No, this character isn't Raicho, but rather the true main character of the game, Pochi. Now, at the start of the game, Pochi is pretty unassuming, all things considered, just content to play on his game console as the world literally ends all around him. That's not to say that he isn't a sweet kid. Far from it. He was the one who managed to catch on to the fact that Raicho's task to do in the game of Fate that Aniki told everyone was fake, and even helped him in the game till he was taken after failing his task. Even once everyone got outside, he still remained one of the nicer members, being able to back up Pai's claims that they saw Vanilla's ghost, keeping the group together before they split up for a third time, and repairing and steering the train they found. However, he really ends up coming into his own in the second ending. After Raicho ends up getting destroyed in a fight, the group discovers that not only was Raicho a robot, but that Pochi was the one controlling him, being given this task by Mike, the being that destroyed the world. This meant that every part in the game we were playing as Raicho, it was Pochi controlling him. From helping his friends escape the game of Fate, keeping them safe from Pielpi's attacks, escaping the cult of Mike, it was Pochi helping them. However, this wasn't part of Mike's plan for Pochi. Originally, Pochi was a robot made to infiltrate the Go-Getters Club to act as a spy, but ended up sincerely bonding with the members, becoming genuine friends with them. Even after getting kicked out for being a spy, he still remained helpful to them, following them all the way back to Tokyo to keep them safe after realizing Mike was about to attack them. He even ends up sacrificing himself to them just to keep the Go-Getters Club safe from Mike, fighting the attackers off till they capture him, and even apologizing for not opening up about his past. His good deeds continue even after getting rescued, willingly electrifying himself to open an electric door for his trapped friends, and leading the counterattack against Mike. Even after having every reason to go back to Mike, he still decided to be a true friend to the Go-Getters Club, deciding to still help someone even after they pushed you away just because you truly care for them, and willingly apologizing for making them mad, already pushed Pochi very close to the top with selflessness alone. But even then, he still is ready to help. Remember that cheeky little comment from the Dan section? Well, that kind of applies to Pochi now. Realizing that he's an X-type, a being capable of talking with other worlders, he's able to not only talk with them, and by them we mean the player, that being you, but managing to piece together what he and this other worlder know. We're able to pinpoint just where Mike is at and where Vanilla is being held captive at. Heck, he even was the one to end up deleting Mike, letting his consciousness get uploaded into a computer to fight him head on, saving the world from being stuck without emotions and letting humanity survive. Sure, he claims that most of the work was done thanks to the other worlder, that being you of course, as he let you control him. But due to just how we couldn't get this far if not for Pochi's desire and will to help out the Go-Getters Club, he's just as deserving to be called the hero of the game. Despite originally being made to be the downfall of Earth, he ended up not only fighting against his protocols, but also ended up becoming not only the best of the Go-Getters Club, but also the hero of the world. He's incredibly compassionate, modest, and willing to help no matter what. He's a true leader who not only deserves his new role of being the leader of the Go-Getters Club, but also the winner of the gold medal in being the most noble hero that came from a phone screen. Before we bow out, we do have a few medals to give out for specific deeds. First up is the Darwin Medal for stupidity. This one's gotta go to BK. There is not taking responsibility for a problem, but claiming that it was a good thing that the town got swallowed up by your own holes you delivered to the town is it's a whole new level of obliviousness. Following that up is the Greed Medal. This one was a toss-up between the thief and Ida. In the end, while the thief does at least steal from other thieves in some pseudo-legal tourney, Ida stole from a civilization that led to its downfall, giving her the edge here and the award. The Pride Medal has got to go to Barry Steakfries. Alongside his own ego, he was able to twist Craig's words of comfort after Robot Barry died into more praise for himself, saying just how awesome he is for sacrificing himself, even if he didn't sacrifice him and it was the robot that did it. Next up with our Wrath Medal for most angry character. Well, let me give you a hint. These birds are so angry with the pigs for stealing their eggs, they would willingly launch themselves out of a slingshot just to hurt them. It's literally in their name. It's the Angry Birds. They had this award on lock. For the Gluttony Medal, for the most hungry out of these characters, Omnom gained this medal easily by having the entire game revolve around feeding him candy. Just make sure he doesn't eat this medal as well, please. Wrapping it all up, we have the Lust Medal, or rather, more like a Love Medal. This one's gotta go to Cosmo. Being motivated by bringing your robot girlfriend back after she got blown up is a good way to show off your dedication and love for someone, even if said lover is a robot. You heard it here first. And with that, this call of mobile game heroes has come to a close. What do you think of our ranking? Let us know by sending a message in the comments below. If you need a one-up, make sure to hit that notification bell and binge more of our gaming videos. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching.